Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. Today we have on the show Reid Felsing with the law offices of Reid Felsing. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jerry.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to have you. I love the work you're doing. So you at your office today, or at home, or where you work these days?
Yep, I'm at my office off of 105 West Hillsdale that I share with one of my clients, Grassroots Midwest. Uh, really love this space. We moved into this back in September of last year, and it's got a lot of history to it. It's the big white house that you'll see off of Washington and Hillsdale. Really nice pillars and a bit of a history. I think it was the first governor's house when the capital moved to Lansing.
That's I used to have a company named JDN that was kind of kitty corner over on Capitol. So you would be looking into my backyard. I was in a big house over there. And I've been in your office, one to meet with you, but Dylan, right? Dylan? He was the attorney before?
Oh, Lucas Dillon. Yeah.
Lucas Dillon.
Was in this place. Then before him was Jan Cunningham. Yep.
Oh, all right. So, everyone thinks they know what a lawyer is, and I don't think they do. So why don't you tell us something about you and about the law offices of Reid, or any project you want to talk about, because you're doing some cool stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, being a lawyer can be a wide variety of different things. The direction I've taken is, being in my own practice right now, but it's been a long journey. I've taken a lot of different paths. So first off, went to law school over at MSU College of Law. Was in the corporate law concentration when they had concentrations being offered there. And as soon as getting out, I worked at the small business nonprofit clinic, where I worked with small businesses of all kinds, tax exempt organizations, helping them get it set up, getting their tax exempt status, reviewing various contracts, having employment issues. And I just really loved that kind of work. And as time went on, I went on to teach over at a couple different institutions, Lansing Community College, at MSU, VIPP program, and Saginaw Valley State University. And but I always stayed in the practice. I went to a firm called Nags Harder Brake and Schneider, now Nags Brake, and they gave me an opportunity there for me to build out my practice. And then in 2017, that's when I decided to go out on my own. And it's been just a great time staying in the area of working with entrepreneurs and helping them get to their next level. And so from a lawyer, it's like I talk about all those things that I did and still do for small businesses, but at the core, it's a matter of meeting somebody who has a goal, who has a vision, and you're a part of that process. And it gets really exciting when those goals are realized and you're a part of that. So it's a very exciting area of law to be in, whereas other areas don't have that same kind of rewarding experience, say like somebody going through a divorce or criminal law work, which is good work to be in, don't get me wrong. There can be rewarding times, but a lot of the small business work that I do, working with nonprofits, it's always feel good stuff. You're seeing people making some very positive impacts in their community and in their personal lives and professional lives.
It would seem like there's a little bit less trauma than in criminal law or divorce or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Less heartbreak. There can be, but there's always this, in the initial consultation, the energy that's very positive.
Yeah. So you told us a lot about being a lawyer, but where are you from? Where were you born? Do you mind?
Yeah. I'm from Saginaw. Went to Swan Valley High School, school system. Then I went off to Saginaw Valley State University and made my way to Lansing for law school at MSU College of Law. And that's where I met my wife, Sarah. She was already a teacher at Grand Ledge at that time. So after law school, decided to sort of stick around here and make this kind of the home base.
All right. So you mentioned that you work for the small business nonprofit. Was that the end of
it was the small business and nonprofit clinic at MSU College of Law. They had an MSU College of Law legal clinic, and they had many different segments of it. they had the immigration clinic, the rental housing clinic, and I was supervising attorney of the small business and nonprofit clinic.
It's so I do a lot of work in economic development, as you know, working with LEAP or MEDC or whatever. And there's always a struggle as to how much we help nonprofits, because they might not have the same, type of tax base, or they don't pay property tax or whatever. But I always kind of felt like that was wrong, because I feel like the nonprofits are such a part of the fabric of a community. What do you think about this? Do you have thoughts on this?
Well, I think there's definitely value in investing in nonprofits. The thing that stands out, you use the magic word, is it's about community there. So if you're a part of economic development, one might think that, well, you want economic development, invest in businesses because they can scale out and do great things and get more jobs and get more tax base. However, nonprofits can be able to serve the community, and also they can provide jobs just as much. Just because an organization is a nonprofit doesn't mean it does not make money and it does not bring value. It can do those things. It's just oftentimes it behooves them to move forward with a tax exempt status for the reasons that you mentioned, that you can be able to exempt your property tax, income tax, and things of that nature. And if you're in the world of charitable giving and charitable purposes, you'd want to take advantage of getting that tax exempt status. And oftentimes you see government agencies and grants, they want to see a 501c3 designation for that nonprofit. And it's not because it's like, oh, you're doing great work. When you get a 501c3, you're pretty much telling a source of a grant that, hey, we're here for the community. When you're donating to us, you're not paying off somebody's yacht. We're transparent. You can see that where the money is going. We are beholden to the IRS and their regulations to ensure that there's no private inurement, there's no unreasonable compensation for our directors and our officers and the people that work here. And so you're all about providing a service, addressing an issue with transparency. And so the source of the grant can feel confident that when it's giving the money, it's not going to shareholders directly. It's going to people who are actually boots on the ground, getting a job done that needs to be done in the community.
There's two projects I definitely want to make sure we talk about, but I want to ask one more thing sort of related to this. There's a lot of work in the space about nonprofit and social entrepreneurs, and social entrepreneurs either being like a low profit LLC or maybe a B Corp, and the nonprofits being like the 501c3 or what have you, the different levels, not levels, but types. What are your thoughts there?
Well, the L3C, low income limited liability companies, was a new creature when I started in my legal career. And it was always very fascinating. So one of the things that always came up is that, well, can an L3C be able to get tax exempt status? And at the time it really couldn't and still really can't. But it was a novel entity. And there's always a purpose for certain vehicles. And the social entrepreneurs that one might go in that direction is that they want to be able to do something for the community. They want to engage in some kind of charitable purpose, but at the same time that they want the incentive as being an entrepreneur. So it's nice to have the vehicles available for a person to engage in those kind of works and not give up the passion to build something bigger that they can have control over, to have possession over. When you open up a nonprofit, one of the things that always comes up is that during an initial consultation with somebody is that, hey, you're going to open up this nonprofit, you're going to do great things. Whatever you're going to be contributing to this nonprofit, just know it belongs to the community. You're giving it up to that, and you can't pull that out. And sometimes people are resistant to that, and rightfully so, is that, you want to do good things, but you don't want to give up assets and you don't want to give up your wealth entirely towards this particular purpose. I mean, you're a human being. So it's nice to have vehicles in place that allow for somebody to do something good for the community, but also not to give up complete control of their assets to a nonprofit to do it.
All right. So thank you very much for that. We didn't really talk that much about it before we came on, but you led me there, I guess. So you got tons of projects, and do you mind telling us about a couple? Like you mentioned that you share a house with Grassroots, right?
Yep. So my office I share with Grassroots Midwest, and I always like to give them a plug. And in particular, I was just voting yesterday and put on my Instagram that I had my Grassroots Midwest jacket on with my I voted sticker. Grassroots Midwest is a bipartisan political consultant group firm that engages with the community to ensure that they know how to be able to reach out to the political leaders, state and local level, to ensure that people are educated about the issues that are presented to their particular communities. And where I come into play with them is that as the attorney, I become their compliance arm, if you will, that if anything needs to go to an attorney or to a treasurer to make sure that bookkeeping is done right and that the certain vehicles are being formed and in compliance, that's where I'll be able to assist in making sure that that happens. So I really have a good relationship with Grassroots Midwest. Adrian Heeman, who was my former professor when I was at Saginaw Valley State University, I bumped into him back in 2014 or 15, just getting a cup of coffee, and it just sort of spawned this relationship, and I'm very thankful that it worked out that way. So that's one of my main clients that I work with right now. Another really exciting project that I just was working on is the Michigan High School Esports Federation. We've just filed for their tax exempt status. It's really exciting K through 12 or organization that will support K through 12 esport participation. They're looking to be the comparable to the Michigan High School Athletic Association. And ever since meeting with that group and talking with them, well-organized group of people from all over the state of Michigan, connected in with colleges that are starting up their own esports groups. I mean, they're looking to grow this out to be something that's very similar to having scholarships given out to esports athletes, so they can be able to move on to, the big ones that we're talking about right now are Davenport and then potentially in the Big Ten schools.
I told you, as you told me about that earlier, I work with a group, Proven Esports Group, who is trying to get Black, Indigenous, people of color more into the esports arena and kind of remove some of those barriers. So I'm super excited to make that connection between these two groups. But my real point is that in working with that group, I thought it would be big just because it seems like it might, but man, they can bring a crowd in, and that crowd is, they're athletes. It's amazing what they can do.
Yeah, I had another former client of mine who's now a professor over at MSU in the video game design program, and he's been always pitching on having the esports go through Michigan State. And to touch on how big and how popular esports is, there's always resistance from older generations to really invest in it, especially at Michigan State. And his plug, it resonated well with me anyway, is that he would always pitch them. He's like, okay, do you guys speak fondly of Magic Johnson? Well, yeah, Magic Johnson, great athlete. He played basketball. Would you know that more people are watching, more younger generations are watching esports competitions, and to the point where they know of the athletes in esports and think of them as fondly as you think of Magic Johnson. So you have to get ahead of this, because you might have a full generation of people that want to be able to support the university for their love for a particular athlete, and we're missing out on that opportunity if we're not fostering an environment for esports to thrive as a competitive sport here at the university or in the Big Ten in general.
So I'm going to say, Brian Wynn, get behind this. I've already called him out twice on this.
Well, Andrew Dennis is who I was referring to, but and Andrew works with Brian, so yeah.
So sorry about that. That's
No,
not great for calling them out like that. But, MSU, so what the angle we're taking is that this is also a pathway to many, many careers. Whether you stay in esports or don't stay in esports, it attracts people to gaming, which is programming, which is software development. There's a whole production that we did. We had to broadcast it. We were virtualizing, through that and through, Steam or Stream and all these other different platforms before COVID hit. So they were kind of way ahead in that regard. So yeah, I think it's, Michigan State's trying to get in the top 5 in their gaming school right now. And I think esports is one of the things that's really going to put it over the edge. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure the guys I know would love to meet the guys you know.
Yeah, we can definitely make an arrangement at some point in time. I would, give me contact information. I'll see if we can make an introduction.
We'll make it happen. So, we've kind of been all over the place a little bit, but I'm going to ask you, the core question of the interview is, what is something that you do every damn day that, keeps you healthy, pushes you forward, pushes your mission forward, helps people, any context you want to give, but what's something you do every day?
Well, I like to go into some kind of professional development, whether it's reading something off of Westlaw or off of ICL. These are resources for attorneys. And I'm also a part of the Michigan Appellate Council list, and where I handle appellate cases pro bono or through the assigned counsel of Michigan. And they have great resources through Sado. I'll try to pick something out each day that if I can just read through it or watch a quick video, something to just help me grow in my core practice areas as much as I can. And it doesn't take much. It's just coming into the office, sometime between, 8:30, 9 o'clock. If I have time to be able to knock out a quick video from ICL, great. Or if there's a little short article that I could be able to read to learn about, say, for example, over the last few months, how has COVID changed the way you practice law? Like if I wanted to be able to do estate planning documents, can I use a remote notary, and how do I make that happen? How do I effectively use Zoom to meet with clients virtually? So it's just taking the time each morning out of each day to carve out 15, 30 minutes to learn something new about your areas.
That sharpen the saw. It's you mentioned COVID, but we got a few other things happening during COVID, like George Floyd and the uprising and the protests related to that. Did that affect your practice or how you look at law or anything like that?
Well, you're just looking at things from a personal standpoint that you always talk about these things, especially when you're in academia, about having cultural competencies and having an understanding of implicit bias. And you know what? You have to be able to look at yourself and everything that you do each day. And you have to just know that there's always room to grow. There's always room to listen. And you have to be able to be humble with yourself and saying that, hey, humble and comfortable with yourself to saying that I could be doing better, and I can be doing better doing X, Y, and Z moving forward each day. And I think that's what it's all about. It's about growth. It's about recognizing some of the things that you might be doing. Again, implicit bias, maybe I thought that way and I shouldn't be thinking that way. And you just make those changes. It's small changes that lead to big changes later on.
Rivers are made by drops of water.
Exactly.
So we always have the person from the show before ask you a question or ask this show a question. So yesterday I had on the show Talia, who is basically an activist, is like her main thing. And she's from, her mother's from Haiti. So she's got a long history of kind of activism and all of that. Her question for you, because I told her that you were like a rock star to me, that I thought you were, you're not the rich guy so and so or whatever on TV all of the time. Well, I don't know if you're rich or not. I don't want to get into that. But that didn't seem to me like that you were this motivated by that. So she was wondering, what does motivate you? What fulfills you about your job, your mission, whatever? And we all need money. We got to pay bills, but what else?
Well, I think ever since getting into this practice, it's always about the flexibility. One of the things that I always try to let law students know or young lawyers know is that one of the things about being in law is that you can be a solo practitioner. You're right. Yeah, you're not going to be in the big law and you have to be grinding out billable hours all the time. But when you have your own practice, you can be as flexible as you want to be. And if anything that, COVID has taught us is that you can be as remote as you want to be. And I guess that's the driving force for how I handle my practice is that I wanted to be in my own practice, working with the clients I want to be able to work with, and having the time for myself and for my family. I got 2 small kids. They're 4 and 6 years old. So to have that flexibility and to have that mobility, so I can be able to be a part of their lives and just have a good, work-life balance. That's what drives me. So, I mean, yes, you have to eat. That means, when I come to the office, be productive, get things done. But hey, if I have to be the one to take the kids to school, as I do, and if I need to pick them up from school, I'm available to do so. Because right now they're at Our Savior Lutheran, which still has in-person school, and we're very fortunate with that. But all it takes is, what happens if they can't go to that school anymore? Well, that means that I have to be the one that be co-teaching. My wife is a teacher, but she has to be on Zoom all the time. So to keep that flexibility and to keep that autonomy as being my own being my owner of my own business, I really enjoy that. I just you couldn't trade that in for you could trade it in for all the money in the world, but not for a whole lot of money in the world.
Yeah, entrepreneurs always say, "Oh, I'm going to be my own boss, and I'm going to, be rich," and all of these things, and neither one of those things ever really seem to happen very quickly, because everyone's always your boss, right?
Right.
Your clients, your employees, your whatever. But that flexibility, I really appreciate what you're saying, because there's a lot of people that don't have that, right? And there's a lot of people that need to make a decision. Okay, husband, or okay, wife, or okay, spouse, you're going to be the one who doesn't go to work anymore. Right. And if you got an entrepreneur in the relationship, you got a little bit more wiggle room and a little bit more flexibility. That's a very good point. Very good point. So tomorrow we have another entrepreneur, Lenitra Middlebrook, who owns Addiction Salon. And what question would you like to ask her?
Well, the name stands out to me. So the question that I have for any entrepreneur is, what is your calling card? What is your slogan? What is your brand that you want people to know you by? So the question is, how did you come up with the name Addiction Salon? And how does that define your business?
I think she's going to love to answer that. She just came through the One and All cohort with LEAP and the Refugee Development Center and the Fledge, and it's sponsored by like the MEDC and Consumer Energy. So I think she's going to be on top of this and that's a great question for her. Now, I'm going to try to share my screen real quick because I'm going to change this question on you.
Okay.
Can you see that? The law office of Reid Felsing?
I can.
And you just got a new logo, right?
I did. And quick shout out, one of my clients and friend of mine, Aaron Breidenbach. He just started his own business, Mitten Inspired. It's an apparel company. He does a lot of great design work with mitten men and women, a mitten beard. And so anyway, when I was working with him on some of his trademarks, he does great work, and I'm looking to revamp my marketing. And I was thinking, I got to have some kind of logo. What is my calling card? And so, as you can see on there, it's just you see the LEM module. Some would see what's that, satellite, but that's the LEM module from Apollo 13. And there's a little bit of a story behind that because in a brief moment before I was teaching over at the Small Business Nonprofit Clinic, I did start up my own practice first. And this was in 2009 when I graduated. Now, in 2009, it was not really the best time to be able to graduate from law school because of the economic crisis. Everyone thought, hey, I'm going to walk out and get a big firm job. I'm going to make some big money. But that didn't work out for me, and didn't work out for a lot of people I graduated with. So when I started my practice, like anyone does, you have to figure out, well, what's your letterhead? What's your logo? And I was like, well, the LEM module. And I put that on my cover letter and my invoices. And the question I always get asked, like, what are you, a space lawyer? Or what's that all about? But what it is that if you ever watched the movie or have heard the story about Apollo 13 is when everything went wrong, right? The rocket blew out on them, and they weren't able to go to the moon, and they had to improvise just to get back home safely. And a part of that movie was it showed them using the LEM module, which was designed to just get them to the moon, but rather they had to use it to slingshot back around to get back to Earth. And there's this like brief scene in there where as they disconnect the LEM module, these astronauts are just looking at this thing like, this thing, saved our life, and thank goodness for it. And I equated that when I got out of law school is that I'm starting up this practice. This is going to be my LEM module. It wasn't, designed to be this way. It was supposed to be the landing point for my career is like maybe get in my own practice and settle up. No, I have to use the LEM module to get me home. So it was a matter of like looking at the iconic vision of you have something that you thought was only to do one particular mission, but in all reality, it was the thing that was going to bring you home in the beginning.
That's amazing. I like how, sometimes people really, they work way too hard on their brand as far as like creating something that maybe they want to live into. But It seems to me like this is super authentic and just like the story that kind of defines where you're going and what your vision is. It's almost a touchstone for you.
Right. And that's what I try to share with entrepreneurs, that when they come in my door and I'm talking to them about it, I mean, you have people from all different walks of life with are starting the business. Some people, it's just sort of something that's a side hustle that they want to be able to grow and become their thing. And so that story can resonate with them as well, is that, hey, you might be working at some job right now, but you got this idea and you want to grow it up, and that might be your LEM module. That might be the thing that brings you home. It wasn't designed to be the ideal way, but you can make it work.
Hey, I'm gonna do a little Fledge business real quick and just show some flyers. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see great interviews like this. Friday morning at 9 a.m. we have another 99 Problems But a Pitch Ain't One. Every Damn Day airs every damn day at 2, and every Tuesday we talk about the concept of 10,000 fledges. So please check those out. As we wrap up here, Reid, anything you want to, any word of advice, any rap song you want to rap, anything you want to take us out with?
I just want to first thank you again for bringing me onto your show, and to anybody that's out there, go out, do great things, live out your dreams, and wish you the best on that.
You're amazing, Reid. Thank you so much for being on the show. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you again.
Have a good day.